question for today is, should the Husqvarna 701 be considered a true supermoto? Hey, what's up, Motard fam? Motard Steve bringing you another moto vlog. Moto vlog! Hopefully it doesn't really get too wet, but I got the mic and everything taped up in case it does start raining. But fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. That was inappropriate. So guys, I wanted to talk about, you guessed it, the 701 today. I want to start doing a couple more 701 focused videos. Not just because it's a hot topic, but because there's not a whole lot of videos out there on it of like real riders' experience and stuff like that. Like, yeah, there's tons of like reviews from motorcycle magazines and stuff like that, but there's not many like moto vloggers or, you know, first-hand accounts of people out there talking about this bike. So the question for today is, should the Husqvarna 701 be considered a true supermoto? You know, and you may be scratching your head right now like, what do you mean? Of course it's a supermoto. It's a dirt bike, single cylinder, it's got 17-inch wheels. And you know, that's for me, yeah, that's the definition of supermoto. But a lot of people take it a step further than that. A lot of people kind of go back to like the origin of supermoto. I'm going to give you guys a history lesson here. If you don't know how supermoto came to be, you'll know after this little bit here. So, you guys know motocross, supercross, MotoGP, that's all been around for quite a while. And now think back, I don't necessarily know the exact year supermoto came to be, but the general idea is that MotoGP, motocross, all that's been around for a while. And a lot of like MotoGP riders in the off season would race dirt bikes and check out their own kind of like dirt tracks and stuff at their own houses and things like that, just to kind of round out their skills. And somewhere down the line, somebody got the bright idea of like, hey, wait a minute, MotoGP or road racing takes a set amount of skills. Racing off-road or motocross takes a set amount of skills. What if we combine the two with having so many riders that participate in both of the activities, whether it's competitively or leisurely? Why don't we combine both these activities, modify some like 450 race bikes, put some street tires on it like a supermoto, and see who's the best all-around rider when it comes to dirt and blacktop. And there you go, that's how supermoto was born. And it was popular for a year or two, maybe a little bit more, but it died out real quick. But during the time it was popular, we did start to see some consumer available supermotos, but they were never anything close to the race bikes that we all watched on TV. Well, not me personally, I never watched supermoto on TV, but I've seen the X Games, like videos on YouTube of whenever they used to have it in the X Games and all that. But you know, none of the consumer available stuff, you know, they weren't offering, damn person, they weren't offering like CRF 450s converted and WR 450s, you know, stuff that is pretty common today. They didn't have stuff like that. You know, they started off with the CRF 230M, which a lot of people were like, meh, because I mean, it's a 230, it's not nothing crazy exciting. And then you have the crazy big dog that's been doing it forever, not stopping, never gonna stop. You got the DRZ 400, it's been around since like the 2000s, barely changed even now, but I digress. These days you have a varied amount of supermotos at your disposal. You know, you've got your WR 250s or your DRZ 400s, and then you've got all the way up to your full-blown race converted bikes. You got your YZ 450s that people do all the paperwork, get street legal. You know, your CRF 450Xs and Rs and stuff like that, WR 450s. You know, there's a lot of options that you can have if you just get smart about it. But that brings the question. A lot of people sit on the more enthusiast end of the spectrum and think that really the only kind of true supermotos there are converted 450s and stuff like that. You know, these are your guys that are riding like your YZ 450s, your CRF 450s, your KX 450s, stuff like that. You know, and I can get why, because to be honest with you, that is like the epitome of the race bike supermoto style. You know, these bikes weigh like 250, put out a good heap of horsepower, and just have a crazy power band. Now, I had a local buddy of mine ride my 701, and he said he wasn't really all that super impressed with it. And of course, he rides a 450. You know, if you come from a 450, the 701 isn't really going to feel all that wow to you, because the 701 isn't a 250-pound motocross bike wearing street clothing. So to answer the question though, do I feel like the 701 is a true supermoto? Yeah, of course I do. You can do anything the converted 450 MX bikes can do on the 701. Sure, you may have to try a little harder, you may have to have a little more skill, it might not do it as easy, but you can do everything that these bikes can do. You can rip wheelies, hit jumps, do stoppies, take it to the track, take it to the twisties, do some urban fuckery. You can pretty much do anything these guys can do. But it's just the character of the bike that's much different. Is it a true supermoto? Of course. But let's talk about the spectrum of supermoto and where I feel like the 701 falls into place, and why I think the 701 is kind of, yes, it's a supermoto, but it's also so much more. So like I said earlier, you got your 450 converted bikes. Those are like your, let's jump out on the weekend, maybe a couple times a week, just rip around and go nuts and have a crap ton of fun. And they are a crap ton of fun, believe me. But these aren't the guys that are going to be like, hey, let's go take a 150 mile trip on the bike, not hauling it. Let's ride the bike 150, 200 miles in a day and just explore around. Or let's commute back and forth to work 4 or 5 days a week when, you know, our work is maybe 10, 15 miles away. Now, I can see if maybe it was like 3, 4, 5 miles down the street, they could. But you know what I mean is these people aren't putting a lot of miles at one time on these bikes. You know, I've seen YZ 450s and WR 450s with 300, 400 plus hours on it, but they didn't do the bulk of that in just a few trips. You know, they're race bikes. They wear a lot quicker, and I don't mean like, oh, they're gonna blow up. I'm not one of those ignorant spreading people that think, oh, if you convert a 450, it's gonna blow up. That's not the case. You know, as long as you change the oiling on regular intervals, check the valves regular intervals, make sure you don't run it without coolant, stuff like that, you know, just general upkeep, and you're smart about it, you change the gearing so it fits more for street cruising, then yeah, I mean, you can put a lot of hours on them. But you're still going to have to do more maintenance on it than you would something like this. Because what you're basically doing is you're taking a bike that is meant for racing. The sole purpose of a YZ 450 or any of those 450 bikes is to be the most explosive and fastest thing on the track. It doesn't have this in mind right here. Just cruising at a constant RPM. That's why when you street convert them, you got to gear them down, so they're not constantly like revving their damn brains out going down the street. So, you know, that's the like far enthusiast end. A little bit further down from that, you've got your trail bikes, you know, your WR 450s, CRF 450Xs, 500 EXE, Husky 501s. You know, those bikes, while they're like the MX bikes and they're very racy, they're a little more manageable, you know, your EXEs and stuff. A lot of my buddies ride 450 EXEs and 530 EXEs, and those bikes are just really, really easy to live with, but while still being a very performance and hard-hitting bike. And then, you know, you got your WR 250s and your DRZs, which are more of your, I don't know, I don't want to say this but with the risk of sounding insulting, but those are more of your, I guess, playing it safe kind of supermotos, you know? You don't got to worry about doing a bunch of crazy maintenance with it, and, you know, they'll last a very long time with very easy maintenance. You don't have to rebuild them for like a very, very long time. Valves are very sturdy. You know, they're machines that you can put a crap ton of hours on and don't have to worry about much. You know, these are the bikes you can basically dual sport and still rip around throughout the week, back and forth to work, and don't have to worry too much about it. And then you've got the 701. Has double the horsepower of a DRZ. It has 75 horsepower. So it's definitely not your traditional dual sport type setup where it's very simply designed and has just a modest amount of horsepower. The 701 has a crap ton of horsepower. 75 horsepower to the crank. That's insane for a single cylinder. And there's just a crap ton of technology packed into this thing. So it's not really, it doesn't really fall in the category of your simple Supermoto converted dual sports. To me, it falls somewhere in a gray area between. Oh, that's a scale. I can't get up on that. You know, the 701, it's very reliable and very easy to live with like a dual sport, but it puts out a heap of power as well. So I feel like it falls somewhere in a gray area between the more modest dual sports style converted Supermotos and your trail bike converted Supermotos. Like I took this bike on 500-mile, 5-hour trips up to the mountains and back, and just absolutely no problem at all. You know, it does it no problem. You're not going to do that on these converted 450s or, you know, trail bikes. You're just not going to do that. Squirt! I'm going to sneak up through here. Now, sneak up through here. Look, Saros. Oh, I'm going to create a Saros account so I can ask 100 times a day on Facebook, hey, who is this? Fucking so stupid. It's really stupid. Anyway, yeah, guys, we're pretty much at the end of the vlog, so I'll just end it here, standing next to the bike. Ooh, that Camaro, though. I like the Challengers better. But, you know, let me know what you guys think. If you have a 701, what do you think about it? Do you think about the same thing I do, that it falls somewhere between hardcore Supermoto and dual sport type bike, like a hybrid? Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If this gave you some kind of insight in between the 701 and maybe something else you're considering, give this video a like. Be sure to subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know if you didn't like it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.